Hello and welcome to this update on diversity and inclusion. It's an essential subject for us all to understand and embrace at Trustford, as we are not only a hugely diverse business, from locations to nationalities, through to departments and backgrounds, but we're all a Trustford family, so being included is really important. So, this update will look at what diversity and inclusion is, the law behind it, banter, and our standards and acceptable behaviour. It's 25 minutes long. Please make notes if you wish, and there's a quiz at the end, and you're required to get 100%. So give everything your full attention. So what is diversity and inclusion? Well, some of you might have heard equality and diversity before. And when you hear diversity and inclusion, you might think it's just about race or culture or gender, and particularly the group you're in. But there's more to it. Literally, diversity means different. And any difference you can think of or see. Practical things like work background, ways of thinking, approach to problem solving, and physical things like age, gender, race, or sexual orientation. And of course emotional things like tastes or interests. Inclusion means together. Just like we're all together as the Trustford family. And that means all of us, particularly when we're at work, if we're inclusive, we can benefit from diversity. We can learn from each other and be open to sharing thoughts and ideas. We'll be respectful to others' point of view. We'll be working as a team and having the attitude to make it happen. And that's what we're aspiring to every day. When we come to work as a Trustford or Trust First Parts colleague, and it's something to be proud of. So what about diversity in the law? Well, first up, there's laws that support our aspirations, and they guide us in what is and isn't acceptable behaviour. It's important to remember that all of these laws apply to individuals as well as the company, and anyone breaking these laws could face personal prosecution as well as disciplinary action from the company. So the laws we abide by come under the Equality Act, and that came about in 2010. And it was there to simplify lots of existing laws. It's to promote fairness and to keep people and businesses safe, happy, and of course keep everything performing well. It sets out all of the personal characteristics that are protected and the behaviour that's unlawful. And you can find more information at the Home Office website if you want to. Now, there are 9 characteristics that are protected under this law. They are age, disability, gender reassignment, marriage and civil partnership, pregnancy and maternity, race, religion and belief, sex, and sexual orientation. And negative behaviour towards people on the basis of any of those characteristics is unlawful and put into categories of discrimination, harassment or bullying, and victimisation. It also applies to behaviour towards anyone associated with a characteristic. The example would be knowing someone who's gay or being friends with a black person and being treated unfairly as a result of it. Or if you're perceived to have a characteristic. For example, being treated unfairly because someone thinks you're pregnant when you're actually not. Discrimination means treating one person worse than another because of a protected characteristic. Harassment or bullying is any unwanted conduct related to a protected characteristic, which another person considers violates his or her dignity, or which creates an intimidating, hostile, degrading, humiliating or offensive environment. And victimisation is treating someone unfavourably because they have taken, or might be taking, action against you under the Equality Act, or supporting someone who is. So that brings us to banter. Now, banter from time to time is part of a normal working culture in a dynamic and welcoming team, and can show an individual that they're appreciated and enjoyed by their colleagues. But is it easy to define? The literal meaning of banter is teasing or joking that is amusing and friendly. And it seems harmless enough, but when does it cross the line into something different, or more than just joking? I've got some examples for you to look at, and let's see what we make of them. So a female colleague had taken sick leave, and her boss made a comment to a group of other colleagues: "That's why women never fought in the war, because they're pussies." Have a think back to what banter is the definition. Is that amusing or friendly? Would we class that as banter? It absolutely isn't acceptable behaviour under any circumstances. And the fact that a senior colleague is making it sets a poor example to those under his leadership. Let's have a look at another example. A senior colleague was speaking to his team, and during this time he made reference to colleagues from another department, using a derogatory slang term for someone who's black. It was not said directly to the colleagues in question, but do you think that's offensive? It absolutely is. And there may be colleagues overhearing that conversation that are black, and also colleagues that may have black family members, spouses or friends by association. Again, it's absolutely not acceptable. So our third example, a colleague's manager sent him a text message. It said, "You're too old to be in my team." Do you feel that shows care and respect for each other? How would you feel if you received something like that? What do you think would happen to that manager in that situation? It's another example of a senior colleague showing poor leadership. They definitely face disciplinary action as a result of this, and it's absolutely not acceptable. So our final example, a colleague was given a nickname which she knew nothing about. Upon learning the nickname, which seemed harmless, she learnt it was actually a reference to a cartoon character from the 1970s who had a physical disability, And a colleague was understandably upset because she shared the same physical disability as the character, and this was being used among her colleagues as a joke. Do you think she found it amusing? Absolutely unacceptable. With all of those examples, it's about the other person and not the person doing it. All conversations, actions and behaviour are no longer private. We know this from examples such as dash cams, smartphones, where the ability of customers and colleagues to view or record conversations, whether being part of it or not, is now commonplace. None of those examples, or any others like it, will be tolerated at Trustford. We have principles and standards that we expect of each other, and we all have a duty to maintain them at all times. So our standards. We live in an ever-developing world. It's also important to recognise we're diverse. And everybody wants to come to work feeling positive, energised, and to enjoy what they do, which mirrors our PPA, where we drive the standard in customer care through true care, positive, and enjoy. And how you act and behave around your colleagues and customers has a great influence on their experience of you individually and us collectively. And that forms their perception of our brand. Understanding how our behaviour can impact others can be the difference between someone having a great experience of us and a poor one. We support each other because we know it takes us all together to win. And our PPA gives us our charter at Trustford, what we expect of ourselves, our colleagues, and what our customers expect from all of us. Diversity and inclusion, or simply respect and care for one another, goes further than the law. And we have a duty of care to our colleagues and our customers. And what we must do is consider the impact of our actions and comments. Think before we speak. Sometimes things that formulate in your mind don't actually sound like that in reality. Respecting and caring for each other and our customers. Don't you think that promotes a much more positive environment than one where you worry or you're on edge about what someone might say? And understanding that differences are normal, natural, and part of what makes us unique. And you'll see reminders all around the business when you see our PPA. It's up to all of us to make that a reality and not just words on a page. I hope you found this informative. Now you're ready to take the quiz. Thank you for your engagement.